The first bill up for consideration is number 90 on general orders, Senate File 2898, Senator Housley.
Thank you, Mr. President and members. After the COVID-19 pandemic runs its course, hopefully we will return to a somewhat normal life as we knew it. And when we do, there are more than 1,000 freelance hair and makeup artists across the state of Minnesota that deserve the opportunity to do what they love. 18 months ago, the Board of Cosmetology made an arbitrary decision to all of a sudden require freelance hair and makeup artists to take thousands of hours and years of training, costing them anywhere from $10,000 to $20,000 to continue doing what they love. But that training is largely unnecessary for the men and women of the freelance hair and makeup industry. The training would include chemicals, cutting, waxing, nails, and a lot of the things they don't want to do and they don't do in their practice. These are the people that we hire to do our hair and makeup before events, weddings, proms, and much more. They were doing their job until the Board of Cosmetology decided to step in and threaten their livelihoods. We should be supporting these men and women and not trying to actively sabotage their business. This is how they provide for their families. That's why I'm bringing this bill forward today. This bill exempts freelance hair and makeup artists from the full-on state cosmetology license, although we did add that they will still be required to take a 4-hour sanitation course from an approved continuing education provider. This bill will make sure that our freelance hair and makeup artists have the ability to go back to work when the pandemic is over. I also want to touch on one other thing. The Board of Cosmetology, which is in charge of licensing and regulation for the cosmetology industry here in Minnesota. Senator Kiffmeyer, Senator Benson, and myself have been trying to work with the Board of Cosmetology for months and months on this bill, and we've received little to no cooperation. I was sorely disappointed that the board did not appear to be more interested in the people that they represent. On April 14th, 2020, I inquired to the Board of Cosmetology about what, if any, steps they were taking to develop plans or guidelines for licensed cosmetologists to safely return to working. There are more than 40,000 of them across the state. The following day, the board's executive director responded that, quote, "The board is in discussions on how to create a process to safely reopen the salons," and she encouraged us to share a link on the deed's best practices with our constituents. On April 17th, 2020, in response to our inquiry about the board's guidance that licensees must not conduct curbside pickup sales, yet many other businesses were allowed to have curbside pickup sales, and the board's executive director replied, "The critical sector worker exemption list is the document guiding all businesses in the state in addition to the executive orders," and that she would forward our comments to the governor's office. Then, in an email on April 27th, the board's executive director said, "We, the board, have several staff working internally and externally with licensees to develop suggestions for a reopening plan." The following day, in response to an inquiry about what, if any, actions the board is taking to develop these guidelines for operating licensed cosmetology practices amidst the present challenges, the board's executive director responded, quote, "We have had conversations with work groups as well as individual licensees on reopening plans, as well as discussing their concerns of reopening." In response to a request for a list of board participants of the work groups, you simply sent us a list of licensees who called the board. On May 1st, 2020, the board's executive director stated, "The governor's office, DEED, and the board are jointly working on reopening plans. The board solely does not have this responsibility. If you have specific questions regarding the release of a reopening plan, I would reach out to the governor's office." It's been nearly 1 month since our first request and still have not seen the plans, guidelines, or communications from the Board of Cosmetology. On the other hand, over the past 2 months, I have heard from dozens of licensed cosmetologists across Minnesota that have shown incredible creativity in developing their own safe and sanitary practices. I applaud their courage and their patience under these incredibly challenging circumstances. It's very disappointing that I've not seen much compassion or empathy for the more than 40,000 licensed cosmetologists across the state who are really hurting right now, and I implore the board to do better. But this is a bill, something we can do to help right now for the freelance artists. I want to thank my co-authors, Senator Torres Ray, Senator Bigham, Senator Dietzick, and our lone male, Senator Pratt. I really want to thank Senator Kiffmeyer for navigating this process and getting this to the finish line. But finally, I want to thank the freelance artists. They're sitting up in the gallery today. The courage to come out here. I want to thank them for their passion, your strength, and your commitment for your cause for the thousands of mostly women and men across our state who want to get back to work as soon as possible. It's because of your activism and your commitment to this that this bill is here on the Senate floor, and hopefully everyone gets a green vote and we can get this through the House and we'll get the governor to sign it. So thank you, members, and Mr. President, I encourage a green vote. Thank you.
Discussion on Senate File 2898, Senator Kiffmeyer.
Thank you, Mr. President and members. I'm very glad to stand today in support of Senate File 2898, authored by Senator Housley, and much appreciate all of her work. But even more so, I really appreciate these largely women, but many men as well, who are doing this work. And it just is something that it's so great to see folks who have created a niche market, responded to it, take care of it. When you see places like Macy's, Nordstrom, and other ones, they can do makeup, others can do makeup. There are these big box stores that have some of these abilities to do this, but here we have these individuals who are being squelched in their opportunity to support their families. Many of them are women in a situation where they are single-family wage earners. So, members, I ask for your support. And just to mention that during this time, while they have not been able to have their livelihood continue, the Cosmetology Board, to my knowledge, at least the responses I've been able to get, all of their employees, I believe it's 28 or 29 of them, have been able to get their paychecks. And so I want to stand up in favor of all these thousands of people all across the state of Minnesota, and so that when we do open up, they're going to be able to function, take care of their families, and earn their paychecks and be rewarded for their innovation, creativity, and their hard work. Thank you, Mr. President. I urge a green vote for Senate File 2898. Thank you.
Further discussion on the bill, Senator Abler.
Thank you, Mr. President and members. And we're sanitizing between each. I want to point out that these cosmetologists are experts in sanitation. They spend more training. I've had a fair amount of training in infection control and so on, but so have they, and so heaven forbid. Mr. President, I'd like to move the A4 amendment, please.
Senator Abler offers the A4 amendment. The Secretary will report the amendment.
Senator Abler moves to amend Senate File 2898 as follows: page 2 after line 23, insert. This is the A4 amendment.
To the amendment, Senator Abler.
Thank you, Mr. President. And the Senate has already voted on a similar version of this amendment on a bill a few days ago. This amendment says that the Board of Cosmetology may not impose additional penalties for a violation of the executive orders about not being open during the COVID crisis. There was, I don't remember the fellow's name, and I'm sorry I didn't find a chance to. I think his name was Dante or somebody. He was in St. Paul. He made the front page of the St. Paul paper, and he was totally squared away. He had masks, he had gowns, he was all set, and I think he got set up by the paper, so he became kind of famous, and suddenly he was shut down, and I think he's facing some penalties. And there's a bunch of people who just simply, Mr. President and members, cannot go on any longer. They are desperate. The city of Nowthen, the city of Oak Grove, have voted to actually open their cities. And many other cities across Minnesota have. City of Champlin failed by a vote. They're going to bring it back up again. But city after city are telling the public that we are comfortable with the ability of our businesses to deport themselves in accordance with the deed and the Department of Health guidelines, and they are allowing them to open. But the bad thing is, if you're a regular store and the police aren't going to enforce the governor's order, nothing is going to happen to you. But if you happen to have a license, in this case by the Board of Cosmetology, they may be in a position to act. I read over the Practice Act this morning, Chapter 155A, and it wasn't clear to me that they could take extra action or not. And it says they can enforce orders, that they can enforce laws that they can enforce, which I don't know what that even means. But I'm here today with this amendment, which would say that they may not do that. That their job, and they do it very well, and I'm fully aware of so many board activities. Their job is to deal with ethical violations, with standards of care, with sanitation, with training, with the safety of the public, and none of that has anything to do with if a person decides under their city's guidance or otherwise to decide to be open. And so, Mr. President, you know I've been up here every day talking about this, and I'm eager to hear about what the governor says tonight. And I'm hoping that he will listen to the city of Nowden, the city of Oak Grove, the city of Lakefield, and other cities across the state that have said, no, Governor, we're good to go. We're not going to do it unsafely. We're going to do it safe. We're going to let our hair salons open, and we're going to let these other people have a chance to actually keep their homes and not go out of business and go bankrupt. So, Mr. President, with that, I'll stand for questions. Thank you.
Discussion on the A4 amendment. Senator Hall.
Thank you, Mr. President. If I could just say, this is a great amendment that Senator Abler has brought up, and I appreciate Senator Housley and the whole bill. I have a daughter that is a hairstylist, and she, in the very beginning, came to tears and said, how do we live if I can't go out and do safely my hairstyling? And so I asked her, do you know how to do it safe? And she said, of course I know how to do it safe. I'm trained to do everything as safe as possible. And she said, we can make some changes. We can have every other chair. We could have only one person in the shop at a time. There's a lot of things you could do for your clients. We'll wear masks. And I said, it's a lot like the dentist. And she looked at me and I went, you're right, it's not like the dentist, because the dentist has to work on my mouth. So I understand there's a difference there. With hers, you're working on the hair. And she said, well, I hope that this won't last very long. And at this point, she doesn't know what she's going to do. And her friends don't know what they're going to do. She's being asked all the time, and that's why this amendment's so good, Annie, could you just do it on the side? Could you just get my hair? We're going to a funeral, or we're going to a wedding. It's an outdoor wedding. We can do it. We're going to try to sneak it in. And or Grandma, can she do Grandma's hair? She says, I don't want to do anybody's hair because I could lose my license, although I know she did her husband's. She hasn't done mine, and she usually does. So it's being really hard, and all we're asking is an amendment that says, okay, shouldn't be, but these are unusual times. We ought to be able to do a haircut or style your hair, color your hair, whatever those things are. And we should be able to do that during this time without getting penalized. So, and on this point, I want to say she came to me right away and she said, Dad, we have to do something here. And she said, can I put together a rally? And I said, well, I don't know. I don't know why you can't. But let me check with the Capitol. So I called up the Capitol administration. I said, can she do this? They said, well, we're not giving out permits. And I said, I understand that, but can she do it? Well, we're not giving out permits. I know, but what if we just have 100 people and they stay 6 feet apart and they wear masks and they stand out on the front lawn? Can we do it? It took them 2 days finally to get back to me, and they said, call the state patrol. So I called the state patrol at the Capitol here, and I said, what will you do? And they said, you will be removed from the front lawn if you have more than 10 people and you're on the lawn. You can't be on the lawn because we're closed. And I just really think there's something in our Constitution that says I have a right to assemble and give grievances. So with all that, members, I think they should not be penalized, Mr. President, and I appreciate the amendment, and I would vote yes on the amendment.
Further discussion on the A4 amendment, Senator Howe.
Thank you, Mr. President. And members, I've got a constituent who has 2 beauty shops. She's licensed in 2 different locations. She sent her money in and her application and all of her paperwork the first week in February. The 11th of February, her check was cashed, Johnny on the spot. So she didn't receive anything. She had to apply to avoid penalties and interest and all the rest of that good stuff by February 28th. So she applied the first week in February. Check was cashed the 11th of February. She called them on March 14th because she hadn't heard anything. She was told that when her application was received, it goes in an alphabetical list. Doesn't go on top of the pile and get done by date. It goes alphabetically. So somebody that applies on the 25th of March with a name that happens to begin with A gets put above hers. I think that's a bad system. But here it is. We're in May now. She still does not have a license. And you talk about being on pins and needles. She believes that as long as people keep applying and her name's down on the list, guess what? She might not have a license by December if it keeps up going like this. The Board of Cosmetology has to get their act together. And I tell you what, I think this amendment of not requiring and not allowing them to do penalties, I think goes a long ways. So I ask you to support this amendment and take care of those cosmetologists out there that are that would like to be back at work. Thank you, Mr. President.
Further discussion on the A4 amendment, Senator Housley.
Thank you, Mr. President, and thank you, Senators, for speaking to the amendment. I feel your pain. There are 27 employees at the Board of Cosmetology that we have asked repeatedly, as I said earlier, for a plan, some guidelines. These small salons, they have the plans out there. They're submitting them. They're not hearing a single thing. It's the exact same issue we had when it came to the freelance hair and makeup artists. No support, and this is the organization that should be supporting these hair and makeup stylists and all of our licensed cosmetologists across the state. Hopefully the governor says something tonight in his 6 p.m. Press conference. What these executive orders are doing to not just our cosmetologists, to our small business owners, forcing them to find loopholes and feel like criminals doing something illegal, whether it's selling a jar of jelly in your small little boutique so you can be able to be open, because that is happening. Or you're forcing these cosmetologists to go underground and do bootleg haircuts in people's homes, bringing a bowl of tuna salad in case anybody's recording them. They're pretending that they're coming over for lunch, because it's happening. But what we can do right now, members, is Senator Abler, I am on board with your amendment, but these freelance hair and makeup stylists have worked so long just to get this much done, and this is what's agreed upon. So if there's anything we can leave this place with, it's the knowledge and feeling that we did something good, that was really good for the people of Minnesota, and especially for our small businesses that are ready to open up as soon as they can. So thank you, Senator Abler, but I'm going to have to politely ask you to delay. Thanks.
Further discussion on the A4 amendment, Senator Abler.
Thank you, Mr. President. And one of the beautiful things we have here, being the privilege of being elected, is we have a small voice we can make on behalf of people. People have asked me over and over again, what are you doing? And I'm thinking, what can I do? Sometimes I feel like my bully pulpit. The governor has a marble, kind of gold inlaid bully pulpit, and he says, oh, it's amazing, and the paper says, it's amazing. And then I have this little cardboard box to stand behind and in front of my house, I feel like. And so I hope that the message is getting through to the governor that we want him to succeed in fighting COVID. We don't want anybody to die. But we know that these other places can open safely, and that's what I am trying to get going here. And
Senator Kent, for what reason do you rise?
Mr. President, point of order. I believe we need to stay focused on the amendment that is before us.
Thank you for the friendly reminder. Senator Abler, please.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'm just about done. And so, but just to Senator Kent, and I have the highest regard for her, and she's one of our leaders here, and a really good one at that. But the people at home are just getting desperate. So anyway, my request is of the Board of Cosmetology, I'm going to withdraw this amendment. It's very important that the artists are taken care of, and I think there's an agreement to help them out. But so please, Board of Cosmetology, when these individuals come before you as an opportunity to sanction them or have some form of comment about what they shouldn't have done it, please limit your efforts toward sanitation, public safety, ethical violations, and let this one go. These are trying, tragic times, and so please do that. And with that, Mr. President, I'd like to withdraw the A4.
Senator Abler withdraws the A4 amendment. Members, we're back on Senate File 2898. Is there any further discussion? Senator Bach.
Well, thank you, Mr. President. Would Senator Housley yield for a question?
Senator Housley will yield. Senator Bach.
Mr. President, Senator Housley, does the Board of Cosmetology have a position on this bill?
Senator Housley.
Mr. President, Senator Bach, I'm pretty sure they oppose it.
Senator Bach.
Well, Mr. Chairman, I know we're trying to all get along in these difficult circumstances and put up a lot of green votes for things, but I know a little something about the hairdressing industry, and I know that the inspections that are done of facilities, of the real estate, are very important. The cleanliness, things like lice can travel when people are shampooing and styling people's hair. So, Senator Housley, I'm going to have to vote no, because I just don't know if the right safeguards are in place to make sure that we don't get things like lice traveling around from household to household to household.
Further discussion on the bill. Senator Housley.
Thank you, Mr. President. And Senator Bach, we originally had the bill with no extra education or hours of training, but we did add a 4-hour sanitation training that addresses all of the issues. This isn't for a full-on salon license where they do hair cutting and coloring. This is just for the small business owner that goes to do a bride before a wedding. And so we've added the 4 hours of sanitation that they would have to do so they would learn how to clean their tools to make sure that lice doesn't travel.
Further discussion on the bill. Senator Nelson.
Oh, thank you, Mr. President. I just have a question that had come into me yesterday about this particular bill, and I'm hoping Senator Housley might yield for a brief question.
Senator Housley will yield. Senator Nelson.
Thank you, Mr. President. Senator Housley, there was some concern about the 4-year sanitation requirement. I think you may have just mentioned that. But one was a concern that it would also apply to our licensed hairdressers, which I think you've already addressed. It does not. But the second question had to do with timing. In other words, if the state is under a shutdown or lockdown or stay-at-home orders or whatever those orders might be, it would be difficult for the cosmetologists hairdressers that you are speaking of about these special events to get that particular training. And I'm just wondering if you're thinking the effective date is after the executive orders are lifted, or is there a way for them to get the training in a virtual or online manner?
Senator Housley.
Thank you, Mr. President and Senator Nelson. Yes, it is online training that the sanitation is, so hopefully we can get that together so as soon as the executive order and the stay-at-home is lifted, that they could get back out there and do the job that they love to do.
Senator Nelson.
Oh, thank you, Mr. President. And if Senator Housley could just one more time yield.
Senator Housley will continue to yield. Senator
Oh,
Nelson.
thank you, Mr. President. And if you could just further, Senator Housley, explain how the 4-year sanitation training requirement applies and to exactly whom it would apply should your bill be successful.
Senator Housley.
Thank you, Mr. President and Senator Nelson. It's a 4-hour training, and it is approved, state-approved continuing education, and it only applies to those freelance hair and makeup artists. When you get the full-on cosmetology license, you're doing over 2,700 hours. That's already included in there. Then when you have to work in the salon, it's another 1,500 hours. That was originally what the Board of Cosmetology said, that these small business owner women and some men, that's what they wanted to change, what they wanted to do. Require them the thousands of hours and years of training when all they do is go to a church before a wedding, do the bridesmaid's hair with the brides, or do a teenager for their prom photo shoot or special events. So they only need the 4-hour state approved continuing education.
Final discussion on the bill, additional discussion on the bill. Senator Kiffmeyer. We have not gone to third reading yet. Senator Kiffmeyer.
Thank you, Mr. President and members. So in regards to this bill, I just want to remind everybody, though, because I think Senator Housley mentioned it, but I want to affirm it again. These are people who have been doing this work already for many years without any cosmetology board requiring all of the significant costs and finances that go with opening an actual salon when they are not working in a salon or out of a salon. So they've been doing this before. It's only just recently, in the last couple of years, that the Board of Cosmetology decided all of a sudden to make this an issue. They were functioning just fine before. So it's really odd that now all of a sudden this would become an issue. One of the things I also noticed is that this board in particular has no legislators serving on it, as we are accustomed to as legislators, boards and commissions very frequently. Also, this board does not have outside representatives on their board. They are very much from a one side of the situation. So I don't question their credentials or abilities and all that, but it is common for these boards to do that. All of these board members are appointed by the governor, accountable to the governor in particular, except their budget. And so I just would say that I would hope that in the future we could see legislation that would maybe balance out this Board of Cosmetology a little bit more so it's more broadly representative, as others are, to having those on the board who are either legislators or that they are folks who are users of the services of cosmetology, not just owners or operators or educators in the cosmetology salon field only. So thank you, Mr. President, members. I just want to encourage Senator Housley in a future bill that we would maybe address that sort of situation. Thank you, Mr. President and members.
Further discussion on the bill. Senator Housley.
Thank you, Mr. President and Senator Kiffmeyer. I completely agree with you. There needs to be some legislative representation on the Board of Cosmetology. This isn't the first issue that's come up with the board. I am hoping that the Office of the Legislative Auditor will do an audit of the board, but that's not the bill that we have before us right now, and we want to keep this clean to get it passed so we can get these men and women back to work. Again, like I said earlier, and Senator Kiffmeyer reiterated, that this was an arbitrary, out-of-nowhere reinterpretation of a rule. These freelance artists have been working for decades doing this, and all of a sudden the board decided to interpret the rule and tell them that they had to get the full-on thousands of hours of training, and if they didn't, they would get fined, which some did get fined and have gone out of business. So what this bill does is lets these men and women get back to work, help provide for their family, and do what they love. Members, I encourage a green vote. Thank you.
The Secretary will give Senate File 2898 its third reading.
Senate File Number 2898, a bill for an act relating to state government exempting hairstyling and makeup application from licensing.
Third reading. Members, is there any final discussion on the bill? We are on final passage of Senate File 2898. Seeing no further discussion, the Secretary will take the roll. Members in the retiring room, please come to the chamber to vote. Members in room 303, please come down to the chamber to vote. Members in the President's office, please come to the chamber to vote. Members in room 323, please come to the chamber to vote. Members in room 237, please come to the chamber to vote. Members in room 206, please come to the chamber to vote. I will now call on Senator Kent to report the votes of the members voting under Rule 40.7. And before I do, members, if you've voted, please exit the chamber through the front door, especially if you are having discussions. Senator Kent.
Thank you, Mr. President. I report an aye for Senator Carlson.
Senator Carlson votes aye. Senator Kent.
I report aye for Senator Clausen.
Senator Clausen votes aye. Senator Kent.
I report aye for Senator Eaton.
Senator Eaton votes aye. Senator Kent.
I report aye for Senator Frentz.
Senator Frentz votes aye. Senator Kent.
I report aye for Senator Isaacson.
Senator Isaacson votes aye. Senator Kent.
I report no for Senator Lane.
Senator Lane votes no. Senator Kent. Members, it's very hard to hear up here if you're having conversations. Can you please go outside the chamber? And we are under a roll call vote as well. Thank you. Senator Kent.
Thank you, Mr. President. I report aye for Senator Latz.
Senator Latz votes aye. Senator Kent.
I report aye for Senator Little.
Senator Little votes aye. Senator Kent.
I report aye for Senator Newton.
Senator Newton votes aye. Senator Kent.
I report aye for Senator Pappas.
Senator Pappas votes aye. Senator Kent.
I report aye for Senator Rest.
Senator Rest votes aye. Senator Kent.
I report aye for Senator Sparks.
Senator Sparks votes aye. Senator Kent.
I report aye for Senator Torres Ray.
Senator Torres Ray votes aye. Senator Kent.
I report aye for Senator Wickland.
Senator Wickland votes aye. I'll now call on Senator Benson to report the votes of the members voting under Rule 40.7. Senator Benson.
Thank you, Mr. President. Senator Anderson B. votes aye.
Senator Anderson B. votes aye. Senator Benson.
Senator Dames votes aye.
Senator Dames votes aye. Senator Benson.
Senator Eichhorn votes aye.
Senator Eichhorn votes aye. Senator Benson.
Senator Hall votes aye.
Senator Hall votes aye. Senator Benson.
Senator Ingebretson votes aye.
Senator Ingebretson votes aye. Senator Benson.
Senator Lang votes aye.
Senator Lang votes aye. Senator Benson.
Senator Pratt votes aye.
Senator Pratt votes aye. Senator Benson.
Senator Rood votes aye.
Senator Rood votes aye. Senator Benson.
Senator Senjum votes aye.
Senator Senjum votes aye. Senator Benson.
Senator Newman votes aye.
Senator Newman votes aye. All members having voted who have the desire to vote, the Secretary will close the roll. There being 64 ayes and 3 nays, the bill is passed and its title agreed to.